let's go and get started. I did hear from Peter. I thought he was gonna end up being able to be here in person too, so perhaps he will.
Here, Roger. Thought you were just getting back today or tomorrow.
Yeah, no, well, we'll see. We shall see. We have a quorum. Small but mighty. First order of business is to accept the minutes of the November 19th regular meeting.
So,
Second,
Second,
Steve, all right, all those in favor, Steve,
aye.
Melissa? Aye. Great, aye. Excellent. Is there anybody here that wants to address anything that is not currently on the agenda? Yes.
I just wanted to let you know that I had talked to Mike Nelson this afternoon
Oh, good.
about the proposal that I had been working on. It's not done, but and he authorized me to say that he and I are very much on the same page. And I've discovered that my thinking is just a voice in a chorus of leading people in the community like Tom Tudor and Jennifer Salendi and others that have a very similar outlook. So I'm just I'm just being carried along by the current.
Excellent. Sounds good. It's nice to have a current of people who are caring about and working on the issue, so. Welcome, Pete. Any other visitor comments? All right, hearing none, ferry service update. Peter?
Well, we had a meeting last week in Rockland, which was good. They announced after the meeting of this public hearing, which is going to be on the 16th. And they have presented 3 different potential designs for the new ferry. The meeting was pretty good. The new commissioner, I forget his name right now. C something.
It's Dale Doty, isn't
Yeah, that's what it is, yeah.
oh, Commissioner?
Yeah, the
Dale?
new acting commissioner.
Oh,
And he seemed quite good. I mean, it was a very constructive meeting. You know, when I suggested that we didn't have enough information to have an opinion of the white paper, he was in complete agreement. There's no drama. You know, it's not like they were expecting an answer right there. And actually, 2 of the other items said the same thing.
You have a sense of, is the commissioner planning to attend the meeting, or is that just the Main State Ferry Service?
I don't know.
it says MDOT, but
Yeah, I just wondered.
I'd be really surprised if they.
Yeah, I would be surprised too, but I just wasn't.
It's my experience that the commissioner hasn't always attended the ferry board meetings, but this was the first one that he was commissioner of, so he came down for it. And it's somebody that's been involved with the DOT for years and years and was made
Did he?
that.
Rockland, this Dale, no, that name sounds.
No, he was with DOT for an extended period of time, and then he left actually and became head of DPW at the city of Lewiston. And he was there for quite some time, and then came back to the Main State DOT. I attended the meeting too, and I got the distinct impression that he was not grinding an axe on the whole white paper thing. So, which was kind of interesting, because I thought,
Oh, yeah, I agree. I agree.
yeah,
It was a very pleasant meeting as much as it could be.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's nice, I mean, well, Steve is clapping, that. I mean, I feel like there certainly are lots of things that need to be addressed with the ferry service, but the more that we can find, develop a rapport with the new commissioner before we start grinding axes, I think hopefully the further along that will get us in the long run.
this upcoming meeting, All of that
We'll
dissolved.
see. But it's nice, I mean, the fact that they're having the meeting out here, I think is a good sign.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I actually, I had a nice chat with Bill Cleary, who's still involved. He's now the director of multimodal operations. So, which means, I think that now he's kind of involved with Sears Port and Portland and all that stuff. But, they're still with Gilbert and Associates, but they are talking about different designs. And one is an open deck aircraft carrier type looking thing. One is the Margaret Chase Smith 2.0. And one is very akin to what North Carolina has, which has one alleyway, a superstructure with an offset pilot house, and then two or three, depending upon the beam of the boat, open deck lanes. And they leave it up to the crew to adjust things as they're loading. And so they're apparently considering all three of those, but they're still using Gilbert, and and know what, it was kind of interesting, I saw the Dinsmore is about to be commissioned, and that's Gilbert, and that's the Margaret Chase Smith 1.5.
And we're gonna do what, 2.0?
Uh-huh.
I've got some real problems with the redesigns. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But I'll try to deal with them in a productive manner.
I know, and Steve may say something, are they all hybrid still?
What they're suggesting is hybrid. Which I'm disappointed by.
Yeah, there you go, Steve. Yeah, I think he was not happy with that.
No, it's, and I think ABB's out of the picture, which is unfortunate, because in Europe, they're very well regarded.
Mm.
And now they've got an out for BAE, which did the Dinsmore, I think, but that's hybrid. So. But what's really, there's a lot going on here. We had a $28 million grant from DOT before the election. And apparently we may still have that grant.
I think we still have it.
And so that's one of the things we kind of want to pin down. And then, no one's really given us any kind of information regarding the price differential between electric versus hybrid versus whatever they want to come up with.
Well, electric's gonna be more expensive to build, but more cheaper to operate. That's what they found in Europe with all the hybrid, with all the electric ferries. The question is, when will it start paying for itself? In Europe, it's considered between 4 and 8 years. And I'm not gonna hazard a guess what ours would be.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to me, environmentally, we've got to make our best efforts toward stopping ocean acidification and all that it entails. And the best way to do that is with an electric ferry. And we can do it. There's no question that we can do it. How much more it will cost and when the payback will happen is another issue.
But it would be good to get a fuel hybrid electric comparison where we can and do it from the purchase price and then a 10-year return on investment and try to determine, because we just may end up not state never, we may just be patching the Margaret Chase Smith for another 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's fair to ask at that meeting for that kind of cost comparison to understand, what's driving this decision.
I think it's a smaller initial cost and larger operating costs. And I think that's a poor decision.
Yeah.
But that's reality.
Yeah, it is that, Peter, you're absolutely right. I think the interesting thing, if we look at our cost to continue to try to maintain the Margaret J the way over a 5-year period or 3-year. I mean, we just have to do the math and look at that and then make a business decision. And that's the community's decision. But it'd be nice to have those numbers. Anyway, thank you.
Well, in general, a hybrid is uses 10% less fuel than a straight diesel boat. It's not much. I mean, you have diesels running all the time, they convert it to electricity, electricity turns the propeller, that's a hybrid. And if you charge the batteries a lot, you can get better on it, but they're not even gonna try to do that in either case, they're gonna charge overnight and charge maybe during lunch hour, but they're not even talking about setting one up for Islesboro, so.
Interesting. Yeah.
There's actually another point I should let you focus on. In my discussion with Bill Geary. I mean, this is like the wounds that will not heal. He tells me that, they've also decided, there were 3 things we asked for, that we wrote about after we did the ferry survey, whatever it was 3 years ago. And it was 1, an alternative means of propulsion. 2, a double ender, so we wouldn't have to turn around, and 3, an open deck so people could get out of their cars. So we ended up first with the Margaret Chase Smith 2.0. And I remember coming here and telling you guys, well, at least we got the alternative propulsion system, and we got a double ender. Well, Bill told me a couple weeks ago that no double ender either. And apparently the reason for that is that if it's a double ender with that length, Rockland Marine cannot haul it out of the water. Which means that to be worked on, the closest yard would be probably Fall River. And it would have to be towed down there. And the only option would be for Rockland Marine to actually get a new travel lift, which apparently would cost $12 million.
Yeah.
So I remember saying, well, at least we got 2 out of 3, and now we've got 0 out of 3. So
Good job.
well, I mean, I'm just telling you this in anticipation of this meeting, because it looks like we're going backwards, not forward, to me.
Any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none. Moved to sea level rise update. I don't really have an update beyond what I said last week, or I anticipate next week we'll get the 60% final design from the engineers, and our next meeting is Thursday, the 11th. 4:30. Any questions? All right, Steve, do you have any updates on the public safety garage or public safety renovations?
I do. So I went up there, and the building continues to be built, so that's kind of fun. We received a new quote from Pete. Well, Pete's urging for a 30 kilowatt, and that may be the wrong term, generator. Fuel based. That was half the price of what we were quoted before. So the price that was in the quote was $39,000, but needs to be installed. So I mean, it's add the installation, but everybody involved would prefer that fuel type because of the location of obviously Cliffs. So that's good news, because I think that probably puts it in the range of what we were looking at. So that's a good update. Let me think about that. I guess that is it on the up island.
Any questions for Steve?
Yeah, Steve, I do have a question for you. Is there any chance, and this is sort of a long shot thought, that the brand of the generator you're buying for up there would be the same as the brand that's at the health center? I'm just thinking about with our facilities person, it might be wise to have.
No, that's a smart question, and I don't know, but I'll check into that. I have a feeling it's completely not related because they've been searching for a vendor that would give us, the proper wattage with the proper, tank amount. But
Right.
Pete, that's a really good question. Let me do
Just a
some
consideration, you know.
inquiries and yeah, I'll do that. Good thought.
Any other questions? All right, anything on public safety renovations? All right, hearing none from anyone, we'll move on.
Is he frozen?
No.
Okay, I thought he'd been in.
Well, I guess I'll throw in that we're having a meeting next Tuesday. I think it's sorry if you have background noise. We're having a meeting, I think it's Tuesday, but we have a meeting of, the renovation committee and others to go over the money that is still available after the majority, not all, the majority of the bills have been, or the invoices have been submitted. And we're going to compile all that. And then based on the dollars that are still available, we are going to meet with Michael and Laura to discuss the additional work that can be done, whether that's a new or a revised or updated kitchen, or is that going to be allocated towards meeting space? I mean, that has to be determined. So anyway, there's money available. We're going to do something with it based on the best use of the funds, period.
There's a question from Fred, who's in the room.
Go ahead.
Good, Fred.
Is there an amount of over $100,000 that just came up and available for the project?
I
had heard.
Give me more information. I'm not aware of.
Grapevine that there was about $140,000 that possibly is becoming available. Do you know anything about that?
No, I had a meeting with Janet and Brian earlier this week, Monday, Tuesday. We went over some items, but that there was no indication that there was additional funds of that nature available. But do you know?
There was money left over from a grant or something.
Oh, that 3-digit. There was a SIC, or I'm sorry, I don't.
CDS.
Or
Yeah.
do you know anything about that?
They don't know yet how much is going to be left over. They're not completely finished.
Was it from over there? Okay.
Yeah. Because they're holding back X amount of dollars for the solar. And I think Cressica and maybe the Energy Committee has to make that decision. And there's still a couple of issues over there.
That would really help us out a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Well, 104. Yeah, that's a
That
lot.
would put a new training room in.
Well, I think you're gonna have probably 60 to go towards that. I mean, it all depends what you want to do first or what they decide to do.
What's the timeline on needing to wrap up the CDS grant? How much time do we have to do that?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a deadline. I haven't heard one.
There's got to be a date by which we have to spend the funds and report out on it. So it would just be helpful to know, kind of as we're trying to line up the timeline of the 3 different projects, it'd be helpful to understand how all of that lines up.
Because that's the Community Service and Development Grant. Congressionally directed spending.
Okay.
The one that
Different one.
Jessica,
Yep.
800.
Okay.
Yeah, if we could have those numbers for that meeting, Janet, that'd be obviously great.
Yeah, I think Brian is working on that tomorrow.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll know more.
Thank you. Good question. All right, anything else on public safety renovations? All right. Hearing none, do we want to take the meeting out of order, or do we want to just chug through as quickly as we can?
For what reason to take it out of order?
I say just check for it.
Okay, we're gonna chug through quickly, John. Okay, because John King is in the room for ferry service book, but we're gonna move very quickly here. Upcoming meetings and subcommittee reports, planning board December 15th, Sea Level Rise December 11th. The DOT ferry presentation at the Kinnicket Center is December 16th at 6 p.m.
And there will be a Zoom link for that.
Excellent.
Yeah, and we'll get it out. I gave it to him and he
Yeah.
said he would put it on, but we just haven't. 17 and we'll blast it.
Great. I think people will appreciate having a Zoom
I've
on.
already had 2 calls about that, so that's good.
Anything else?
Energy Committee on the 9th and Sea Level Rise on the 11th.
Janet, town manager's report.
All right, under correspondence, I've given you a November 23rd email from Janice Petzel regarding the Energy Committee report from the Main Island Coalition meeting. November 30th, Steve Pelton sent me an email asking me to put on the agenda to suggest the town, which I have under, which is coming up under new business, number 2, so I won't go into that. And an email from December 1st from Michael Nelson that Shay had forwarded to everybody already regarding housing. Old business with the John King and the ferry tariff. I'm giving you a handout from Bar Harbor Wealth Management for November sub-accounting statement. Under my report, the MDOT in-person meeting. I posted a notice about the end of Village Shore Drive closing for stabilization project to begin. John was gonna start it a month earlier, so I got messages out to all the homeowners and we posted it, so.
Okay.
Hopefully he's going to start that picking up rocks. We received our local road assistance funds. $40,492, which I had budgeted $35,000, so I'm really happy. On November 28th, last Friday, 7 of the 27 leftover taxpayers from 2023 tax accounts foreclosed due to lack of payment. This is totaling about $12,296. And I sent it on to Kristen because I'm not sure how we proceed. I've only had one that we went through and that was paid up after the fact. But I have a feeling these are going to be
I'm sorry, how many did you say?
7.
7?
So I just wanted to let you know, when I find out what she says, you know, how to go forward, because it's like an automatic thing. We don't do anything else. It happens over in the registry.
Yeah.
So, I'll let you know, that. And on the 1st of December, I received.
Hey,
word from
Janet?
Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. Explain that to me again. It's a little hard to hear, but I also wanted to understand there's on the tax issue. What is that, please?
there were 7 property owners who did not pay their 2023 taxes,
Okay,
which came to foreclosure November
Okay.
28th.
okay,
So,
got it. Thank
so
you.
that's, okay. So I received word from our newest house cleaner here, Robin Hughes, that she'll only be able to work through December 20th, and they're moving back to Alaska. So I posted that. And my final exciting day yesterday, we received the final municipal building project $5,000 pledge. That has been outstanding. So excited in that. Since September 2022 is when we started taking in money. We've taken in $1,909,927.
Wow.
So I've just packed away my 3 notebooks, so I'm so happy.
Is that what you're putting on the addition to your home? I'm sorry. No, strike that.
Steve.
I know.
Any questions other than Steve?
That's amazing. That's great.
I was so screaming up and down the hall and sent it to Linda Gillies because she's been quite the, Minding,
yeah.
so she's all done.
That's great.
I have, or irrelevant question to this. What is the date for the second payment for taxes? Do you know?
End of next February.
For the second half of payments?
First is always September 30 or the end of September and the end of February.
But-
Then March 1st, interest would begin. So that's it with me.
Right. Cool trailer, parking lots, a lot of taxes.
Well, there's 16 on the property there for you.
So correspondence, as Janet said, I shared the email that, I had with, Michael Nelson and then had a follow-up phone call. And I didn't really wanna put this on here as any kind of housing discussion, but I did just wanna put it on there because I think, he really wanted to recognize that the housing, he wanted to make sure that we were aware that the housing committee, it sounds like, is working towards a plan and hope to get it to us in February. So because there are so many discussions and interested organizations and interested individuals, that it's helpful. I think they are very happy to be the committee at the town level to help to coordinate that and make sure that feedback is incorporated into the recommendations that they hope to bring for us in February ahead of budget discussions, which I was very grateful that he kind of reinforced that interest and and he also made sure to highlight that there is another vacancy on that committee. So one of the things that we talked about, I'm not sure how much the school is going to continue to have housing as part of their discussions, but it might be worth reaching out to the school committee to see if perhaps one of them would want to be a representative, either a formal committee member or, just attending to make sure that there's coordination between those efforts. Yep, Fred.
So my question is what do they do with relationship to IEP? I understand IEP is a private group. And the housing committee is looking at ways to do housing on Islesboro. Is there a mission statement for that group?
There is, when it was formed, there is one, I don't know it off the top of my head, I don't know, Janet, if you have it right in front of you, but
I do, but
generally, the idea is that IAP is doing work on affordable housing. It also has a definition of income guidelines that guide the work of that nonprofit organization. So there are representatives, as I understand, affiliated with IAP that are part of the town housing committee. But there's also recognition that that housing is a very broad problem and that in order to make sure we remain a place that is affordable for, kind of all income levels, that there may be other ways that we can support affordable housing, workforce housing. And so they're looking, I think the idea is to be as complementary with other organizations, not trying to duplicate, but trying to see what are some of the other bottlenecks that can be addressed. So one of those things is like the I feel like I'm gonna say the wrong acronym. No, the
ESC,
no,
IES,
although they're also involved, but the auxiliary dwelling unit. AD, thank you. I was gonna say IAD or. But I know that's why I pointed. I think that the state required, it's one of those things that they helped us to coordinate to make sure that we had the necessary ordinances in place to be able to do that kind of work as a
So
town.
they don't actually research how to do housing on Islesboro or come up with ideas like that. They're more regulatory.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
When we started the committee 2 years ago, that was the goal, was the housing committee would be a background influencer. That's why we did the town centers and different things, webbing and like the Genesis Fund and Maine State Housing, Hancock County. which is a big housing leader. Making the Tom Tudor and Michael Nelson take a lot of focus with that and are able to go through. And so if somebody wanted to build apartments on the island, if they wanted to go to the housing committee, they can help provide guidance as to where they could help get funding, where they could help get the regulations and what needed to be done, but not having the town own any of the properties or try to absorb that responsibility.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I?
Yes, as the
Brandon?
housing ex officio.
And then I kicked it over to Peter when he joined, so.
And I am still in the process of, and I haven't reached out adequately to Melissa. I should be educating myself, but just objectively, there are three aspects to this that I think have not been adequately addressed. Number one, IAP is entirely charitably supported or somewhat modestly supported by the state, but so far the town of Islesboro has not weighed in financially to the issue of creating affordable housing other than creating town centers. And I feel like, as an individual, not necessarily a member of the housing committee, but what I've said is that we need to devise a way to create a partnership between IAP and Islesboro to husband and our resources to support affordable housing. And I should say the school committee and one particular member of the school committee is identified affordable housing as one of the key issues in supporting the school population. That is, how do we attract school age parents with school age children to the island, and how do they afford to live here? And in addition, there is the question of what kind of housing. Is there a possibility for building a greater diversity of housing? I just visited, anecdotally, you'll be interested to know, I visited several affordable housing complexes in Seattle when I was out there. And it's interesting that there are a lot of models out there I don't even think we've thought about, which is multiple complexes of housing that include elderly housing, housing for young people, and working labor oriented housing of different sizes with communal kitchens. I don't even know how you create that, but I think we're really at the edge of coming up with a much more creative and broad idea of how to support housing than just how to take a piece of land and build a 3-bedroom house on it. And I think there is, I hope, great opportunity there. It is a national problem. It's a problem throughout the state of Maine. It's a problem on islands. And we're not unique in trying to do this. But
No,
there are-
but it is a very complex problem, and I think,
Right.
you know, to Michael's, to my discussion with Michael, you know, I think being able to have those detailed discussions at the committee level and then coming to us with recommendation is the best path
I'm
forward.
talking to Michael, talking to Tom. We have ongoing meetings to figure out how to come up with a program to come back to this board and say, here's what we'd like to do. How can we do this?
Perfect. Any other correspondence? All right, ferry service results. Thank you for compiling, the information for us based on the survey. I mean, it sounds like there were some that were adamantly against and others that were extremely positive, and ultimately, it seems like the devil is in the details in how something would be administered to, whether or not it's something that we would want to move forward with.
Right, just as an update, I picked up, or we picked up 5 more responses today. And that should probably close it out since we're in December now. And 3 were in favor and 2 were not, so. But you're right, the vast majority. There are 2 takeaways, but it's almost 90% are in favor of it, which is kind of extraordinarily high. With the 5 we got, that's 88 total. Which beats the various survey, the prior various survey we did by 3, so that. That's actually fairly, I think, a fairly robust response. The other takeaway I took from it was that it seems like were we to proceed forward, that the demand would be very high. So we'd have to take that into consideration, because that's a budget issue, obviously. I did the back of the envelope budgeting, thinking based on 75% of the residents of the island using it 5, 6, or 7, or 8 times, and it was somewhere between 55 and 100,000. If you went in, but I would want to probably sit down with Brian and try to come up with something a little bit more solid than that in terms of a budget. But it struck me that the demand would be high. It also, I think we also struck a chord, and it's the ferry tariff situation is obviously on a lot of people's minds, so. If you do decide to go forward, I think, well, probably we need it. God, I hate to say this, because I thought I never would, a committee. To maybe make some recommendations for you folks. I think there are a lot of things. I've talked to Tina and David about. One of the things we clearly have to do at the outset is to tell people if they want to pay by credit card, they're gonna have to pay the service fee, because that's what we do apparently. But they're still gonna save a fair amount of money if they do that. But it's kind of like, no rushing, maybe but require people to buy tickets in advance. So that, you're not out here on a Wednesday afternoon with people rushing in and saying, I've got to make the 3:30, this. Right, all that kind of stuff. Defining residency and who's gonna say yay or nay is gonna be a tough one, I think. But, the devil's in the details, I think, and I think if, I've talked to Peter about maybe sitting down around the table, Gabe's agreed to as well, and kind of like whacking out some of the details and maybe coming back to you with some suggestions. Frankly, I know nothing about municipal finance, so I don't know if you want to do this by a warrant of the town meeting. And coming up with a budget so that we know exactly. Most of the people who are either on the fence or against it are really concerned about the potential impact on their taxes, which I get, so. And then frankly, I don't think it would be too hard if I sit down with Brian to figure out, what that impact would be. Assuming we have a realistic budget, so anyway.
Yeah, I mean, my personal feeling is, I mean, if affordability is an issue on the island, the question is, I mean, affordability is an issue on the island. And is this the best, like the most cost-effective way to provide relief to that affordability? I feel like if we have a proposal, I would want it to go to the town in the form of a warrant so that we could kind of consider that, well, one, so that this board could consider that price tag during the budget development process along with, the other requests that are out there, and then two, that it would be, approved by the town at town meeting, because it is a new kind of spending, expense. But I don't know, how do others feel?
I'm curious how many taxpayers we have in town total. How many taxpayers do you know?
There's 1,200 parcels,
So
give or take,
theoretically
so.
1,200. So. I feel like. My envelope math, as we could call it, if we go with $100,000 to do this, now we have 1,200 taxpayers, right? And we take it all from the tax base, if we fund it. Then what are we looking at, about $80 a person in the cost, but to the tax? Is that math follow it?
No, because it goes into the mill rate, which is based on the total, so basically that $80 is divided differently based on the value of your property.
That's something maybe Brian could come, that's the kind of thing.
I think that's where I think having a small group to work on it to figure out what the proposal would look like would help inform those kind of questions.
I'm just wondering about, like, is the savings per ticket going to be kind of washed away by the potential increase in the individual's tax?
Well, it definitely would for ones that didn't utilize the program.
Right. Which would be,
I mean,
To say the
that's
least.
yeah,
which is gonna happen.
and so for the year-round person that's eligible for it, if they didn't pre-plan and come in and get it, then there's automatically no affordability for them for whatever reason, whether it, they're budgeting or however they're doing it.
Everybody is gonna pay. Under this fund.
Everybody's gonna what?
Hey, I mean, if it comes out of the town budget.
Right.
It's everybody.
Right, but you also have people right now,
Whether they use it or not.
right, which is unfortunate, but then you have some, like, there's a couple families that I know of that do not leave during the peak times. Just so that they can avoid doing it because of their financial restrictions, so they've already made the point that they can't unless it's an emergency or they have to. And now they're still gonna be paying more with their taxes and stuff like that, they're homeowners on the island. So there's a two-sided bar to that, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
What if, go ahead.
I was just thinking about with the people not using it, and like the non-resident, class we call it right now, right, the non-permanent resident.
Mhm.
Can we legally do that? Hold in money under the guise of giving it strictly to a program like this to support?
I don't know if that'd be considered discrimination or not.
You know,
Cause I think that's what Casco Bay got hit with when they were trying to raise, but they only. I don't know, because Casco Bay won or lost, depending on what side that on. Cause they wanted to raise their rates and they were told by the commission that they could not only raise it seasonally because it was discrimination. Was a big case that went through 2 years ago. How we were able to do it and they weren't, I don't know the details of, and I don't know if it's because they're a private corporation.
I don't think that would make that much of a difference, really. I think it's because no one complained.
But all of Casco Bay complained, and so, cause they had there was their own residents that started the lawsuit in order to stop the ferry increase on them,
Yeah.
and so they didn't.
It's a very different dynamic down there.
Gotcha.
Because you've got a very high density population on Peaks Island that are all
Right.
residents of Portland and you know, actually, I was one of the ones that brought up the peak season versus off season
Mhm.
rate concept with for the reasons you just articulated, because I thought it would work for some people.
Mhm.
It was just adopted by DOT and no one complained and there was no lawsuit or anything.
So on that score, John, what I'm curious about historically. The idea that we used to have of an off-season rate and the on-season rate the DOT administered that was wiped out. Is there no possibility of restoring any shape, manner, or form of that?
Well, it really wasn't an on-season, are you talking about buying tickets on the island versus?
Yes.
Tickets on the mainland, that was different, that was a very unusual rate structure. It wasn't seasonal, it was
Okay,
year round,
sorry, I misspoke. Forget the seasonal aspect.
right? But there
As
was,
I understand it, is the DOT objected to that idea because it was being abused.
well, there was a perception by one or more of the commissioners, that the process was being abused. You are correct. However, it was DOT's policy that they were the ones that implemented the on-island, off-island policy, and they never, until they needed money, complained that anyone was abusing it, and they never had any rules against it.
But ultimately, it was the abuse that they offered as the reason why it was no longer.
Well, that was one of many things. Keep in mind,
Because obviously there's technology that could address all of those concerns.
well, keep in mind, when they first proposed tariff 8,
Yeah,
that was the big spike, the one that took us from $12.75 for a round trip up to whatever it was at the time, $25 or whatever. When they proposed, their initial proposal was that, and this is in the context of needing a lot of money to pass. Is essentially what happened. It was, so their initial proposal was that a Maine state resident would pay X for a round trip ticket. And anyone who lived out of state would pay 2X. And it was all the islands that said, oh, no, that wouldn't be fair.
okay, just without getting into the minutia of the history. There are three things about this proposal that bother me. Number one.
Can I finish my,
Please.
kind of about discrimination, just real quick? Because I want to make the request that you have, we run this by a lawyer, because it seems to me that if we're taking taxpayer dollars from everybody, we can't really restrict a public service that we offer, right? Like, we might not use them, I might not call Fred, to come help me with something, but I have the ability to do so, right? But with this sort of idea, I would be paying into a system that I would not be allowed to use if I wasn't here permanently. A summer person can call Public Works, Public Safety, but they can't use this program. So it feels sort of weird to me to take money from everybody and eliminate, you know what I'm saying?
I understand where you're coming from, Pete, but I analogize this to, like, if you live in, say, Cumberland.
Mhm.
Cumberland residents pay 20, well, say Yarmouth, because I know that better. Yarmouth residents now pay like $25 or something for a tag so they can use their transfer station.
Sure.
If you're a commercial or you're a non-resident, you pay well more than that ability. You go, there are towns that have park access, beach access that differentiate between residents and non-residents when they charge for that.
Right.
But actually, I'm more, I'm all in favor of that. I mean, run it by a municipal attorney and see what they have to say. I raised this, and keep in mind, I raised this as kind of a trial and a stopgap measure. Because I've been pushing for resident rates from DOT since I've been on that board. And they just, Bruce Van Noe just was absolutely bound and determined that that was not gonna happen. And there are other ferry systems that do that. The Massachusetts Steamship Authority does that. They differentiate between residents and non-residents. So,
All right, so my question in supporting what Pete was just saying is whether or not it's legal or not is, was it a mechanical problem? It sounds like it wasn't a mechanical problem. They were just adamantly against this. So the two other issues that I would like to see the subcommittee address, number one is if the goal here is to support people who are challenged, financially challenged by this, the difference between the seasonal rates. I don't think we distinguish here. If a wealthy person who happens to be here year round wants to buy into this, they are also enthusiastic. Everybody, there's nobody, you could not find a single person who would be happy to pay lower ferry rates. Sort of slam dunk.
you can find a few, they're in red here.
Right. So
I've got nothing to do with the price of the ticket, John.
So
That's not one of my
the
lines.
question is, how do we support people who? How do we focus on people who are truly challenged by the higher rates in the summer versus the winter? And I'm not sure we've addressed that problem here. And the other question is, it just seems to me amazing that the only way to address this problem is for the town, the municipal budget, to cough up and support this. I mean, it seems like the cost of operating a ferry is it just seems to be wrong that the solution to this problem is for the town to kick in $100,000 and subsidize everybody's ferry rates. If the issue here is really that the residents of Islesboro, as they used to, and maybe this is a non-starter, used to be afforded a lower rate. And if it was abused, let's eliminate the abuses. But I don't see why the solution of the problem is for the town of Islesboro to foot the bill here. If
That.
not quite, but we ought to have this new structure in which the town is more financially involved.
Well, the last suggestions by the ferry commission have been that the rate stays the same. So that 50% comes from the state, 50% comes from revenue. That hasn't changed with the white paper.
Right.
So forget that.
Except,
Well, actually.
with all due respect,
It's not exactly accurate.
I thought it was the
white.
thin end of the wedge.
No, but what they have said since the white paper is that.
Well, they backpedal. The white paper suggests, and keep in mind, this is only in regard to operating expenses. They did not address capital expenses in any way, and that's a real concern too, because capital expenses are huge. But on operating expenses, the original white paper proposal was a 45% from the fare box, 45% from the highway fund, as opposed to 50, and 10% from the islands. But it had no suggestion as to how the islands were gonna sit down and cut that pie up.
Right.
And they have since backtracked. But on a more global point, Peter, both Peters, I get exactly what you're saying. And when I first came to you folks, I said, this is not a panacea. And it is not a solution. It's kind of just a band-aid right now. But the reason I came up with this is because right now, we're 4 months out of the year. If you're a young family with 2 kids and you gotta get over to the mainland, you're paying $83.50 for that trip. And my concern is that if we're not gonna have any young families on this island. And if we don't have any young families, we're not gonna have a school. And if we don't have a school, we don't have a community. And that's, and
You're exactly right.
and that's where I'm coming from. And this would be a trial and it would be hopefully successful. But at least we could say to, and it wouldn't be us saying this, would be the real estate agents and everything, but they would say, you can move here and you can afford to live here. But that's my concern. And if you want to run it by a lawyer, I don't run it by me because I'm the one proposing. So that would be a conflict for me anyway. But,
Yeah, I mean, I think as you've been fighting for all along, I mean, the ultimate solution is to have a tariff structure that that really codifies this, but since we do not determine the tariff structure and have not been successful in succeeding in advocating for that structure yet.
yeah,
I guess, yeah, the question is, I guess, does it make sense to start with a question to the lawyer to see if it's even, if we can investigate, if it's possible to do, and if it's possible to do with this board, want a small committee to come up with a structure to propose, or, I mean, I've heard a lot of skepticism, so I also, or are you guys just feeling uncomfortable about it right now? Moving forward.
I love the thought behind it. I don't love the idea of its execution. And I'm concerned about the financial impact of the future. When a program like this gets stuck in place starts as a Band-Aid. And we're gonna keep relying on it because the ferry service is gonna take this as their free pass to raise the tickets or whatever. Because the town will subsidize it and make it affordable. But if it's overall what people want, who am I to stand in the way? So, but we should make sure we can actually do it first before we invest a ton of time and energy. I would think.
I absolutely agree with everything Pete just said. I'm afraid this is the thin end of the wedge. That the DOT will just say, thank you very much. This will not be a stopgap issue. This will be the way it is for the future, and it will actually increase. So the idea of the town funding subsidies here, and I think a small committee to continue this is the way to go. And I will just say, I wish in this proposal there is a way to distinguish between the neediest people and the people who don't really need this subsidy. I don't know what that is.
It'd be hard, it'd be like a financial statement.
But I think it's hard, but not impossible.
Fred, go ahead.
Just a quick question, would it make more sense, instead of creating a new committee, to just talk to council and find out what our options are with that? So if the town attorney says, I don't think you could do this, we save a lot of people a lot of time and we come up with another plan.
Absolutely.
I think that's a
Good idea.
good first
That's what
step.
we're doing, yeah.
But
Well, one of the things that was pointed out in the white paper was that 80% of the island property is owned by non-residents. And I'm a little bit surprised this isn't more of a slam dunk, frankly. There are many people on the island who are on the borderline of being able to afford it and not being able to afford it.
I think,
I'm not trying to pull a parallel and I'm not trying to interrupt.
Oh.
Out of the 7 houses that just got foreclosed on for their taxes, how many of them are year-round residents and how many of them aren't here?
All residents.
All residents.
that's a heck of a statistic right there.
yeah.
Just saying.
In a perfect world, Peter, I wouldn't disagree with you, but I don't want to be on a committee that tells people, yeah, you're eligible, no, you're not. And that was uh, residency is just something, residency is not, you know, a fait accompli either. That can be kind of complicated as well, but residency is something where you're not making any judgment calls other than based on objectively verifiable criteria. And, yeah, in a perfect world, you can walk someone into an entrance and have them come out, and maybe AI could do it for us. But I just think it would be very, very difficult and very, very hard to administer. And I just didn't see it as a viable option.
Well, it seems like first step, let's go to our attorney to see what is possible and what's not possible, and then we can come back with more information to determine if. I mean, I appreciate. It sounds like there is a small group of people who, if it's possible, is willing to spend some time thinking about. You know, something for the town to vote on, so I think that is a good thing, and we'll get some direction from our attorney about what's possible and what's not possible.
Just so that it's included in the notes. And meaning this towards Carrie's recording ability. If we proceed with something like this, I would like to see that it is not solely carried out just by the increase in taxpayer basis. Mr. Rothschild is proposing long-term parking fees and stuff, and that kind of money that would come back into the town. If it is something that is ferry related, I could see justify
Absolutely.
real quick envelope math. If we sell 20 parking spots, $300, $6,000, I could see putting $6,000 towards subsidizing ferry tickets. I don't know about $200,000. And even though we did have 88 responses to it, I don't know how. I don't want to be sitting on a pile of tickets that then we hold and then try to sell the next year. So that's just two things that I would like to be included in case the lawyer says, yes, this is something we can go with. The town's not a business. It should be net zero going through. I know that it's going to cost money to do the guardrails and stuff like that. I'm not trying to take away from that, but maybe if we decide that it is something that'll be implemented on a extended basis, that could be the money that is used for it. And that's all I have to say about it.
We've already spent that money 3 times.
Probably, but that is something to think about.
Can I say something?
Fred needs a raise.
Hold on. Judith has the floor.
If there is a committee, I would hope Tina would be on it, because I've had a long discussion with her. And this, I think, would be very unruly for us to manage in the summer months when it's really busy. You know, people aren't gonna come in a day ahead of time and buy tickets. They're gonna rush in and she's in the middle of doing something, or there's a car, or they have to do a credit. It just boggles our mind. Let alone, have you been here over 183 days? That's how much time you've spent on Islesburg during the last 2 calendar years. It's easy to look at a driver's license or see if they registered voter, those 2 criteria, that would be. But how we keeping track? She said, you mentioned you might be doing an Excel spreadsheet. I don't want to keep track of someone just bought 2 tickets and they can have only 2 for June, and in July you can have 2 more or whatever. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
we stop and think about it, yeah.
If we proceed further, I do fully agree
Yeah, we
that
would need,
the personnel that would be responsible for the implementation is critical. And I think that both Dave and Tina need to be onto it.
But today we were trying to think of what other business in town could do this? Is there another, like, big grill, big island, sell tickets down there.
Hello.
Yeah,
I appreciate the idea, but no.
if I was Tina out here, I'll tell you.
That's
Oh, Tina. We're just trying to
However, if it
reflect
does
it to some
open
of
up
the.
a position, I'm all for
I just,
I like hearing people.
I hate,
Speaking of phrase
Um,
classes. At least it's beneficial.
I think,
Is there a way to raise my hand to address the board? Hello?
Yes,
Oh.
there should be a button you click to raise your hand. I don't know where to find that though.
It's on the bottom of your screen.
No, I can't seem to find that either. Anyway,
well,
I'm just going to make a quick observation. I was hearing what John King had said earlier, that the major concern appears to be, the young families that are on the island, and how can we assist them in corralling some of these costs. And if they're young families, presumably there are children in the school system. Is there a way to focus some of this reduced rate ferry tickets for those school children over the age of 5, because anyone under 5 is free? And maybe we should focus on a smaller incremental introduction of some of the subsidies that we're discussing, because I do understand exactly what Pete is getting to. As soon as you have a tax in place, which is essentially what it is, it never goes away. But if we can look at something that will assist the families who have reasons to be on the mainland, whether it's doctor's appointments for their children or sports events or so forth, that might be a good starting point. And, look at that as an evaluation, perhaps over the course of a year, to see if there's another way that we can extend that to other families.
Great, thanks, Laura.
I'm sorry, I was interrupted by a presumably fraud phone call. But I did have one other comment, and Janet, I do understand what you were saying too, as far as trying to determine who's eligible for anything and who's not eligible. Michael and I have lived here year round for 5 years, but it was only until last October that we physically changed our primary address. Yet we've been full-time residents and we've been paying taxes and so forth. So I think that's a very hard thing to evaluate as people are approaching the ferry terminal. So again, we'll have to think outside the box. I think this is all very valuable stuff that we're talking about. It's critically important to make this island affordable for the young families and for the seniors who seem to be looking for residences elsewhere because of ferry issues. So it's not an easy task, but hopefully if we can eat away at it a little at a time, test the waters with something a little bit more palatable. I don't know how many people would be objecting to extending a reduced rate to the school-age children. And candidly, even the summer folk, if they have school-age children, it's rare that many of them go off onto the mainland that often. So it's something worth investigating. I just wanted to bring that up as an option.
Yeah, thank you. I think all of those are things that should the committee be formed, they can take a look at those items, and as you said, it's a big issue that we're tackling, and so there's no easy answers, but trying to find ways to make Islesboro more affordable for year-round residents is, why I think a lot of us joined the board. So they're good discussions to have. Thank you for continuing to fight the good fairy fight.
The only other thing I'd say or ask is, if we send it off to the town attorney, which I think is fine, I would try to include DOT's response to the comments that we made during the last ferry increase, because and I'm happy to help.
Okay, if you have those, you can
I do have them, and because a number of people, including myself, that argued for a resident rate, a senior citizen discount, and a decent commuter rate. And the DOT's response was, well, the municipalities are free to do whatever they want. So. At least we don't have an objection there. So,
Where the municipalities are free to do whatever they want, as long as they pay for it.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
okay,
thank you.
so are we gonna leave it that we await a?
Yeah, I think we'll have an update about this at our next meeting,
Perfect.
assuming we'll hear from our attorney before then and, yeah.
Okay,
Anyway. I don't mean to.
are you waving goodbye?
Yeah.
John, run.
What I was gonna say, John, is that on behalf of my compatriots here, thank you so much for all of the effort that went into this.
Oh.
And I think it's an inspiration to me anyway, that you put in all of this effort to make this.
Well, at least, you know how most people feel, I think the spreadsheets kind of speak for themselves. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah,
You're all
thanks.
white paper.
Nice to see you all.
You too. All right, next up, new business. Let's review the 2026 select board meeting dates,
There's a controversial question.
right? All of this looks relatively standard.
Not on my birthday.
Oh, good.
I like it.
Any-
Otherwise, I will make everyone sing.
No, my only comment is actually that I also would very much like to get a town meeting date on the calendar as soon as possible too, so that we can lock it in as early as possible, and we don't lose, well, hopefully the Kinnicut Center is as, open as certainly will only just fill up, and I'd love to have it as early as possible this year.
I know that June 6th is taken. You're gonna be that day too.
Now, I was hoping we'd be moving at least into May,
Yeah, I would.
If not
and
April.
if not April, it'd be fine too.
Keeping that in mind, if we move it forward that much with us doing the budget, you might suggest to Michael about the housing committee to maybe up his timeline in January.
Mhm.
Just because I know we're getting ready to get into the depths of that.
Yeah, usually it's February or March.
March,
Yeah.
but if,
Do we start it that late?
Yeah, that is
I
usually
think
has been March.
we're getting into it in January.
no, I mean, January 1st is when I generally send out to the committees, department
That's
chairs.
one in time, January.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of with all of my committees. I apologize, I'm confused.
I can try and push things up. I mean, I'd love to have it in April and get it out of the way, but it all depends if everything, if nothing big is coming up, but we have to wait.
May last year, beginning or middle of May.
It was the middle of May,
Well, would you
17th.
work with, the school to identify what dates are currently available at the Kinnicut Center, and then, kind of work with Brian backwards on timeline for budget development? With the general feeling that hopefully we can have it as early as possible?
Yeah,
Does that sound good, folks?
Absolutely.
and can I ask one thing? I forgot to, I had my little notes if I missed it. For this December 31st meeting, that's what's scheduled for us right now. Is that all right with everybody? Or would you like to move it to the 30th? Anybody got big plans for New Year's Eve or no? If you come here, you better bring some
I got sparkling cider.
cider.
So the next meeting after this
The
is
17th
December 7th.
and then the 31st. Which no one said anything last year when I did it, so. But now that it's close and pending, I thought I would just put that out to you. If no one has a problem. I don't think I'm going anywhere. You don't have to go off and babysit. Very good.
Sounds good.
Okay,
I don't have a problem with that.
December 17th and December.
Steve, you gonna be home on New Year's Eve?
you wanna be here?
Well, I don't know. I'm rocking usually on that night, but yeah, I'll be there.
Rocking?
Right.
Okay,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
trying to be.
next up,
Go ahead.
No, anything else on this topic? I was gonna move off topic.
No, I'm happy. All right.
I think I'm good with these.
Okay, roadside trimming equipment. Who wants to tee this up? Steve?
Hi, okay, so, okay, so, you know, throughout 2 years, the biggest issue that I keep hearing about is the need to do two things: cut back brush, you know, trees, and dig kind of ditches to run the water off more off the roads to save the roads. So we have a hard time getting a company or individuals to come over and cut the trees back effectively. So my thought is, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because this meeting's gone long, but I think we ought to, you know, task Dave or someone to explore what it would cost to purchase a used piece of equipment or whatever it takes to allow our team to be able to effectively cut back the trees throughout the year and eliminate this issue that, you know, for the locals, it's one of the primary issues. And we do so much for the town in general, but, you know, the guys who are driving trucks and stuff, it seems like we're not addressing the most common needs. So that's my suggestion, is we evaluate, you know, have someone do, you know, a research on what that would cost and then bring it back to the board and then, you know, put it in the budget for the coming year.
Is that something that you and Dave
Yeah, I
can?
mean, he did look a year ago, but it was before Steve was on the board, and I think it was new equipment, and it was like 80,000, but if I can task him to look for something used and maybe get the help of AG Turf or Agway, or whatever it is now, I can't remember the name. It used to be Union Equipment, but it's the Kubota, but
And see if there's anything for options and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then also used equipment that is.
sometimes towns, I could, you know, email a list and says anybody's selling, but if they're selling it, there may be a reason if it's old.
Right.
I feel like we need a recommendation both about, you know, what is the right size to actually truly deal with the issue, because I think, you know, a lot of times we end up like, oh, we can't do this because we only have yeah. I'm not saying we want the Cadillac, but I want you to assess what is it that we need in order to get the job done, so that we're really taking care of the problem, not just buying a cool piece of equipment.
We bring Jack or Dustin in on the conversation.
Maybe see if Jack or Dustin is selling the other stuff.
Dustin did just buy a new truck, so. Money.
I like that. Good plan. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Lost to Steve.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's our screen or if it's.
It's our screen.
No.
It'll,
Oh, please don't tell me I have like a horrible.
Hello.
little, like- Last time it did, I was mid sneeze.
Someone should give the town a new computer so this will work better. But
Gee, you'd think.
Is there anything, are you happy, Steve? Is there anything else you wanna discuss on this?
no, that's good. I just think that's something we should move forward and evaluate. The only other thought I would say is, you know, in a lot of states and stuff, as you're coming to the budget time, they solicit from all the committees and stuff, you know, needs for the year. And, you know, that might be something that we want to evaluate. Would that be a good idea, you know, to like, and then, you know, and then they typically in the state level, departments put that through, they evaluate them, they narrow it down, they present it to like a board like us, we throw out 99% and there's 3, and we put them in the budget, just like this tree trimming thing. So that might be something to talk about at the next meeting.
Well, that's what their budgets that they go through, you know, and create, that's really their time to put in what they need. I'd hate to see a tractor not be purchased because of ferry tickets. I think that will be
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it's gonna come down to,
I mean, typically the way that we've handled it in the past has been to have the committee chairs meeting in January before budget development with the idea that it's a time that committees can hear from each other. All of the other things that they might be thinking about to put in the budget so that they recognize, you know. All of the other requests that may be coming and try to balance theirs appropriately, kind of before they get into filling out the budget spreadsheets that ultimately end
I'll
up
look into
coming.
that,
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys the process is already there. I just,
Yeah, no, that is important to,
And it works well.
Yeah.
Piggybacking off of Steve's thing, I don't know if anybody else, when you guys are attending your ex facto meetings, and I've been telling all of my committees. Start thinking about your budget, start looking at it, and this is not the year to ask for things. I think I was that blatant with a couple of them. If you have stuff that you need, bring it forward, but this is not the. Ooh, we want a unicorn year. Don't ask me for a unicorn. You're not getting a unicorn. I'm trying very hard. I'm saying it publicly now. I'm going to be very fiscally responsible with our budget this year. And I want to see, hopefully, I know that we're not gonna get taxes to come down, but I really don't want to see them go up. I'm concerned about what the school's gonna submit. I'm concerned about what we're gonna submit. And so I'm actively pledging to try to be more fiscally. I think that we have done a very, very good job fiscally on our budgets. And I don't want to blow our reputation on it. And so I have been telling all of my committees, put in for what you need for and not that much more. Just so that everybody's on the same, everybody knows where I'm coming from with it. It's not gonna be a surprise.
I think they've been pretty good. I don't think anybody's ever padded a budget, you know, that used to happen years ago. There'd be a little extra, but I
Yeah.
think, you know, you've all watched them really closely and.
Yeah.
I talk with them like I talk with Fred, I talk with Mert, we go through stuff and things come up, things happen, you can't, it's all a budget, it's not.
Right, it's not set in, it's not etched in anything. Lighthouse is one of my examples. They needed windows, and it was, okay, start working down your list of what do you have to have fixed this year versus what can we piecemeal for the next year? And having them do that instead of trying to submit for all of it. And that was for the year before. And they did a very good job when they came and they asked for the money that they did.
Yep.
It was
And they're
very well
raising
thought
money.
out and yeah.
This
And it
new
was,
fund drive of theirs has brought in about $6,000.
that is fantastic.
Yeah.
I almost think that. Because everybody knows the deck of cards that are on the table. I mean, there's anybody around that doesn't know that. I mean, nobody's dumb. I think that you'll find that every committee, I mean, not every committee, every department will probably come through with a flat line if they know what's going on.
Right.
Because you know that me and Mert are gonna flatline like we do every year. There's things that he needs, there's things that I need, but there's things that we need to be able to, for the survivability of our year-round community. I really do believe that if all the departments know that this is gonna be a very close budget.
Mhm.
I think that they'll all do their due diligence and they will all cut that because it is one of those years. I mean, they personally have to do it.
Mhm.
I really do. I believe that all the departments will do that. I really do.
Thank you.
Should we approve warrant number 26?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, Steve,
I,
Melissa?
Hi.
Pete, Peter?
Aye.
Okay, we have no appointments and I have no further comments tonight. Pete? Nope. Peter?
None.
Melissa?
Happy snow day yesterday, everybody.
Steve, you get the last word.
everybody, thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Go back to your babysitter.
Yes. Yes, I think it's Colorado.
According to the rating.
Did you hit the gavel? Are we done?
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry.
That's what I wait for that to
I
say that and I
checked
just
out.
now realized that. I had a total Pavlov's dog to, I like went to stand and I.
Comments, that was great.
I just had.
Fred, hold on.
From someone who.
See you later.
wanted to retrieve it.
Oh, yeah. Fred, don't leave me. I have a question.